Happy Hump Day, everyone. It's time for my daddy's podcast.
Welcome to the Lessons for Success podcast. I'm your host, Adam Wardlaw, middle school science teacher and high school football coach in South Carolina, USA. Thank you for tuning into the podcast heard by nearly 3,000 people across 17 countries, as well as almost every state here in America. These episodes are intended to be short and beneficial lessons to help you get more out of your life. You can keep up with the show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and even TikTok by searching at L4S Show. And remember, that's the number 4. If you're listening on an iPhone, go ahead and give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help keep our growing community going. Now let's start the show. In a world where the coronavirus is dominating the headlines, it's hard to believe that it's not the biggest sickness that affects us. At least it's not according to psychologist Albert Ellis. According to him, your self-esteem is the greatest sickness known to man. In today's episode, we'll be breaking down this quote from Dr. Ellis. Welcome back, everybody. It's Hump Day, and that means here on the Lessons for Success podcast, we're going to look at a selected quote and make sense of its meaning and how we can apply it to our own lives in order to make them more fulfilling. Today's quote comes from American psychologist Albert Ellis. Self-esteem is the greatest sickness known to man or woman because it's conditional. When I first stumbled across these words, I had my doubts about how genuine these words seemed. When I looked deeper into some of the definitions of these words, it all began to make sense. You see, our self-esteem is the confidence in our abilities or our self-worth. And there are moments in our life where we feel it an all-time high. On the flip side, there are moments where we feel it an all-time low. That is where Dr. Ellis's words come into play. Ellis sees self-esteem as conditional, where it depends on the moment that we are in whether or not we are feeling high or low. The reality is that we should be confident in our abilities or our ability to improve our weaknesses. But to Ellis, it is seen as a sickness because people will often accept the lows they are in without any action to combat them. It's in this state that many people go through troubling moments and wrestle with troubling thoughts. You've got to be able to keep your head in the game and not lose sight of who you are and what you want to achieve, even when the circumstances are not in your favor. As you go about your days, it's easy to fall into the pitfalls of life after obstacles get in your way, or things don't go like you plan. Don't succumb to this sickness. Stay the course and keep grinding, and in the end, you will see these moments through. That's all the time I have for today's episode. Before I go, be sure you don't forget these words from Dr. Ellis. Self-esteem is the greatest sickness known to man or woman because it's conditional. No matter what happens, don't get too high or low. Stay the course and keep your head level. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.
Time for a quick commercial.
That's right, Ellie. This episode is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. And they'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. To get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm today. Well, folks, that's it for another edition of the Lessons for Success podcast. Thank you for listening. Remember that you can keep up with the show wherever podcasts are found, as well as the newly updated Lessons for Success YouTube channel. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok to keep up with more content from the show. If you haven't already done so, give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That's all the time I have for today. Be sure to tune in for the next episode of the Lessons for Success show.